Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The Phils had trouble in Toronto, and now it's a big 3 games against the Marlins before the All-Star break. We'll preview the last series of the first half on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas, in between stints over at 97.5, where I normally talk Phillies baseball on the radio. But I got time between the morning show and the afternoon show, so I joined you here as your host of Locked On Phillies. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online. It's where the game starts. Now, the Phillies have not been a good bet so far. Well, this week or for the past week and change, they've lost 4 games in a row going back to game 3 of their series in St. Louis with the Cardinals. So lost 2 against St. Louis, then got swept out of a 2-game series in Toronto against the Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays, a talented team, a little bit underachieving right now, and that's why they fired manager Charlie Montoya partway through the series with the Philadelphia Phillies. But I mean, the Phillies need to, frankly, be better. But there's something I want to talk to you about. And the game with Zach Wheeler's rough start, and they end up scoring 8 runs total. The Blue Jays, that is. The Phillies do not come close to scoring that much, and it is a quiet game for them. Now, Bryson Stott had a nice series. He homered again in the series ender, but the offense was stagnant. The pitching was It just wasn't a good series for the Philadelphia Phillies. And under the circumstances, it's understandable. I called it when I talked on the last episode. I said, it's not a must win, it's a should win. They should have won that game considering that Zach Wheeler was on the mound, but they didn't. He's human. It happens. I'm not going to fault Zach Wheeler. And I really can't overly fault a lot of the guys on the Phillies roster right now. Nick Castellanos, I can absolutely fault. Rhys Hoskins, I can fault. Those guys are supposed to be playing, and I'm not picking Rhys because he did bad. I'm just thinking of guys that normally play because a lot of the guys in the lineup for the series-ending game in Toronto or even the first game in that series are not those players that you expect to see. I brought it up when I talked about it. I talked about it on 97.5 The Fanatics midday show. It was Andrew Salchunas and myself yesterday, and I kind of brought this up. And I'll use an example for Locked On Phillies. Let's say Joe Schmo comes in and he guest hosts this show for a couple of days because I'm on vacation. It's not happening. I never go on vacation. I'll be here for you guys throughout the season. But let's say Joe Schmo comes in and you turn on the YouTube channel or you turn on the podcast and you're like, man, this is a bad show. I'm never listening to Connor Thomas ever again. Well, you're not listening to Connor Thomas right now. You're listening to some other guy try and do the job, and all due respect to them, I guess they must not be doing a good job. Did I just say all due respect to a hypothetical person I made up? Sometimes I'm too nice. But my point being, don't judge the team by players that won't be playing for the team down the stretch. This is not the Philadelphia Phillies that will be making a playoff push. This is not the roster that they will be relying on down the stretch in late August and September. And for that reason, there's no reason to hit the panic button yet. We're just not near that point. And here's the other way to look at it. If the Phillies went on a 4-game winning streak rather than a 4-game losing streak, would we automatically go, oh my goodness, they're an incredible team. They're great. They're a lock playoff team. They're absolutely going to make it. They might win the division. No, we'd say, okay, they won 4 games. That's a nice stretch. You lose 4 games, losses always hit you harder than wins hit you. Like, if this is the meter, right? I'm doing this. It's not good for the podcast, but I'm sticking my arm straight up in the air. If four wins moves you maybe like a quarter of the way to the right as far as good side. So 4 wins moves the meter that much. 4 losses, you're all the way at the bottom. Like the meter goes all the way the opposite way because losses carry more weight to us mentally as fans than wins carry us in the positive direction. And we just take the losses harder and we understate the wins. And that's the nature of being a sports fan, at least in Philadelphia. It may just be an East Coast thing, but I'm sure Boston, New York, Washington, Baltimore, they all kind of see this the same way. It might be a Northeast thing of being overly critical, or it might just be human nature in general. But don't overstate 4 games in a 162 game season. I'm going to just do this real quick for you because I don't have the math off the top of my head, but I'm going to just punch it into my handy dandy calculator here. 4 games divided by 162. Yeah, that's 2.5% of the season. 2.5%. All right. That's just, it's absolutely crazy to think that that is a huge effect on the season. And for people that are freaking out about this team, don't. Here's what it does say about this team. They need to make some moves at the All-Star break, or not the All-Star break, at the trade deadline. Trade deadline's coming up. It'll be end of July. Need to make some moves. They need to get some guys back and need them to be healthy. Ranger Suarez, Zach Eflin, Bryce Harper, Gene Segura, Alec Boehm. JT Realmuto will play now that he's available. No more COVID restrictions. Philly's done going to Canada. Kyle Gibson will be able to play. Aaron Nola will be able to play. So those are the 3 guys that were not able to travel due to COVID restrictions. Alec Boehm also wouldn't have been able to, but probably wouldn't have traveled with the dislocated finger anyway. Those guys hopefully all back and healthy, though, the injured ones I'm talking about, and then you can make that stretch run. That needs to happen. The trade deadline moves that I talked about needs to happen. And yeah, the offense needs to wake up a little bit. Either Nick Castellanos or JT Realmuto, or ideally both, need to have hot stretches as the Phillies continue. But listen, All-Star break coming up. Nice long break, week off. Plenty of time for guys to rest, regroup, fight through injury, get back on the field, and hopefully it'll be a much healthier Phillies team on the backside. And then in about 2 weeks, you'll get Gene Segura back. And then in about a month, you'll get Bryce Harper back. And just like that, this team is super formidable. And as long as they can kind of hang right around that 3rd wild card spot while they wait for that, they're in fine shape. How many times over the past couple of years have we seen the Philadelphia Phillies get hot in July and get hot in August? And it's like, oh my goodness, it's August and they're in first place in the NL East. Oh my goodness, it's July 30th or August 15th or whatever, and they're 3 games up on the Mets or the Braves. Yeah, and then what happens? They fall apart end of August. They fall completely apart in September, and they miss the playoffs by 3 or 4 games. How about we do it the opposite way this time? Don't worry about July. Don't worry about early August. And it's not saying wins and losses don't matter. I'm just saying wait for this team to peak at the right time, because that's how teams like the Atlanta Braves in 2021, the Washington Nationals in 2019, that's how teams like that win World Series and win championships. They get hot enough to get in, they kick the door down to the playoffs, and just like that, well, they're making noise in the postseason to the point where they end up with rings on their fingers. It is not outside the realm of the possibility that the Phillies can do that. And while we're not expecting that type of run, the teams that perform the best down the stretch are the ones that end up getting in. And last time I checked, July, what's today? July 15th, July 14th. July 14th is not, it's just not the home stretch. So slow your roll a little bit there. And the Phillies, they'll be all right. They'll make up for it. The pitchers will be fine. The bullpen has still been pretty darn good. The hitters will figure it out, and some of the better hitters are coming back. So I'm not ready to hit the panic button yet. And this Marlins series, I know it's going to be a big one. I think they should at least win the series. They have a chance to sweep because they only have 1 bullpen game, and that probably is going to be Bailey Falter. We'll discuss that coming up in the next segment. But they're not going to get swept out. But even if they did get swept out, it wouldn't be the end of the season. Nothing that happens in July really, really kills you when you're in contention at this point. And they are very much in contention. It can make the road harder. These are series that they should compete in or win, but it's still early, and the circumstances they're fighting through are rather difficult for Rob Thompson and this baseball team. So that's all I ask. Have patience with this team. Don't get too low on the spectrum when you wouldn't get too high on the spectrum with 4 straight wins. So take everything in stride. It's a long season, still a long way to go, and still looking at like over 60. Like if I had told you over 60 games in an NBA season or NHL season, you'd be like, well, the season barely started. NFL, not totally comparable, but they only play 17. Like there's still so much time left for this team. Just take a deep breath out there. And let's focus on the next opponent, the Miami Marlins, who we'll discuss in the next segment and preview the pitching matchups, the lineups, and who I think can pull out the best performances of this series upcoming heading into the All-Star break. Now, maybe you're ready to pop the question, Or maybe you're just celebrating a milestone moment. Either way, you can find jewelry as unique as her with the modern convenience of online shopping at BlueNile.com. Listen, rings are awesome. Who doesn't want a ring? If you've had any friends that got engaged recently, maybe you've been thinking about it for a long time and you want to ask that question. You know how much she's going to love it and how excited she's going to be. But what do the girls want? Well, they want something special for them. They want it unique. They want to think, well, I'm the only one who has this. And Blue Nile has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, clarity, setting style, so that she knows she's got a fully unique ring. Maybe you don't know how to do it. Well, the bench jewelers at Blue Nile are going to handcraft it perfectly for you. But if you need help on the front end, they've got jewelry experts on hand 24/7 to help advise you. They're available via phone or chat. Maybe you just want some like everyday fine jewelry for that special lady in your life and you don't know what you're looking for. Call them and they will help you out. They can talk you through. Oh, this is a nice bracelet. Oh, these earrings would go great with this other piece you bought in the past. All of this stuff can work through with the fine people over at BlueNile.com, and they can help you find a memorable gift at every budget. So make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement, and she doesn't have to know you got a ring at a discount. I won't tell her if you don't, but it's a great deal for you. So use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. All right, it's time to preview the final series of the first half. Well, the first half of Phillies baseball. We know that the halfway point is actually a couple games back for the Phillies now. The All-Star break in the middle there. But hey, nonetheless, first to check out the MLB Draft Show July 17th on Locked On MLB Prospects MLB Draft. Join Ellis as they go deep on the future stars of Major League Baseball. You can subscribe now to Locked On MLB Prospects so you get notified when they go live on MLB Draft Night. The draft coming up, it's going to be interesting for the Phillies. Going to do a little show on the MLB Draft coming up ahead of that. You'll be able to see that this weekend with the draft coming up soon. But first, we got to take care of these pesky Miami Marlins. And if you were thinking the Phillies were going to get a break and avoid some of their top arms, yeah, well, unfortunately, that is not the case. Game one is going to be Sandy Alcantara versus Kyle Gibson. Alcantara is absolutely nasty so far this year. We know what Kyle Gibson is. He had a little bit of change in his schedule pitching-wise because he could not travel to Canada due to his unvaccinated status. But he's on normal rest now after making that last start in St. Louis. Sandy Alcantara, though, he's got a 1.73 ERA. Second overall in baseball. 9-3 record. You play for the Marlins, so you get what you get. 111 strikeouts, good for 11th. A .91 whip, good for 5th in the majors. He's unbelievable this year. He's as close to unhittable as anyone the Phillies are going to see all year. I don't even know what else to say about this guy. Now, against the Phillies, they've actually gotten to him a little bit. In 2 starts, he's given up 4 earned runs, which is more than you'd expect over the 14 innings. It's a ERA a little bit above 2 compared to what he's had this year. And he's only struck out 10 Phillies batters in 14 innings. So they see him better than most teams. Part of that being the fact that he's a righty. And I think this team's better contact hitters are actually on the left side of the plate. The better hitters have proven in general to be on the left side of the plate so far this year. But I think when this team's at full strength, they might be better against lefties. We've had that conversation before, though. Bottom line, Sandy Alcantara is nasty. Kyle Gibson's pretty good, but it's a tough matchup tomorrow night, for the Philadelphia Phillies to make sure that they try and take a game in Miami. Game 2 is going to be a bullpen game. Now, this is either going to be Christopher Sanchez or Bailey Falter for the Philadelphia Phillies. They'll face off against Trevor Rogers. Just to update you on what Rogers has been doing since the last time the Phillies saw him. Well, his record on the year is now 4 wins, 8 losses, a 5.42 ERA, 74 Ks, and a 1.58 whip. A very gettable guy, left-handed pitcher, only 24 years old. So he's going to come into his own, but he's having a rough season so far as he goes through some growing pains, and look for the Phillies to exploit those growing pains. It's a perfect matchup for a bullpen game. If you're facing Miami, this is one of the guys that you want to have on the mound against you, and the Phillies get that opportunity on Saturday. And then finally, the final game of the first half, Aaron Nola will face off against Daniel Castano. Daniel Castano, if you'll remember, absolutely dominated the Phillies last time he saw them. He had one start and he went, oh my goodness, no runs, no earned for almost 8 innings. He might have gone, almost 8 innings. Just a longer than expected start from him. Now, the Phillies did end up winning that game, one of the walk-offs they had against Miami in that series, but still, Daniel Castano was really, really good. Now, maybe the Phillies can look at him and learn something from the last time because they hadn't really faced him before that. But still a 3.86 ERA on the year, 20 Ks, a 1.4 whip. Not a normal starter for Miami, but a guy that was solid against the Phillies last time. Hopefully he's not as good this time. But Nola goes for the Phils. Hopefully a bounce-back start for him and can give you something special against the Miami Marlins to round out the first half. So I like the Phillies odds in Game 2. I like the Phillies odds in Game 3. And if they can get to Alcantara, who they've seen better than most teams who have faced him so far this year, maybe the Phillies can pull out a win in Game 1. I'm just also going to give you the analytics for tonight's game as we look through tomorrow night's game. I keep doing that. I keep thinking because the off night is so weird. Thursday night off is always throws me off. But the Phillies have only a 33.1% chance to win. According to ESPN Analytics, that would leave a 66.9% chance for the Miami Marlins. And some of the big guys in the Marlins lineup that you got to watch out for are Jazz Chisholm and Garrett Cooper. Cooper batting nearly 300, Jazz Chisholm with 14 homers and 45 RBIs. Watch out for a couple of those guys in the Marlins lineup because they are now hunting down the Philadelphia Phillies. Guys like Jorge Soler. Garrett Cooper, though, might be unavailable. He's day-to-day. Jesus Sanchez might be unavailable. John Birdie is day-to-day. Miguel Rojas is day-to-day. So a couple guys banged up for the Miami Marlins. We'll see who's available tonight. That could also play in the Phillies' favor. So an interesting NL East series to round out the first half that we'll have our eyes on entirely as we go ahead and focus on the Phillies ending this losing streak. Now, coming up, I'm going to give you a little schedule preview of All-Star Week. Normally, I'm used to saying like All-Star Weekend for like the NBA or the Pro Bowl, or I believe it's All-Star Week for the NHL as well. All-Star Week, though, give you a preview of all the goings-on out there in Los Angeles, just so you're aware of what's happening and where you can watch your favorite Phillies players that'll be part of the action. That's how we'll wrap up today's Locked On Phillies. Coming up next in our final segment. First, I want to tell you about BetOnline, our title sponsor today. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info. You can find all of the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NHL playoffs and NHL playoffs. No, that's over. Sorry. Major League Baseball and all that's going on there, though. You can find all of that. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. And BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite sports and events, including MMA, boxing, and golf. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, I'm going to try and break this down as easily as possible as we talk about the MLB All-Star Week schedule. So this is going straight off of MLB's website, but you don't have to go track it down. I did it for you. Now, the All-Star festivities technically open in Los Angeles Friday. That's coming up tomorrow, Friday, July 15th. And they open up with just regular stuff the fans can do. There's nothing really going on, though, until the 16th, Saturday. The All-Star Futures game is Saturday. The All-Star Celebrity Softball game is also Saturday. Now, I'll tell you, I love the Celebrity Softball game. It's 7:15 p.m. You can also watch the Futures game at 4 p.m. Now, the Phillies haven't had a farm system forever, so I haven't really loved the Futures game. But, hey, some guys to keep an eye on now. I'm not sure who exactly is competing in the Futures game, but the Phillies have 4 top 100 prospects. So Mick Abel, Andrew Painter, Logan O'Hoppe, and now Griff McGarry, a pitcher, is another one that was added recently, the past week or so. So maybe some of those guys will be available and we'll get an opportunity to throw or in Logan O'Hoppy's position catch. You can watch that, but fun stuff on Saturday. And then Sunday, well, not too much going on when it comes to the All-Star game, but you have the draft on Sunday. Day one of the MLB draft in the middle of All-Star week occurs at 4 p.m. Monday, you have, well, it's the All-Star workout day, which is the All-Star can put you through some workouts. There will be some of the guys milling around for fans if you're out there in Los Angeles. But, of course, us here, we're caring about one thing. It's the Home Run Derby. Starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The coverage will start at 7 p.m. 8 p.m. is when you'll be able to watch it on TV here on the East Coast. So that'll be great. Kyle Schwarber in that one. So you want to make sure you're tuned into the Home Run Derby. And then on Tuesday, July 19th, you've got the actual All-Star game. It's going to be 7:30 Eastern Standard Time. That's 4:30 Pacific. I got to do those conversions. But you can watch Kyle Schwarber. Maybe Zach Wheeler will find a way to sneak in at the end. But you can watch some of the top players in the game and maybe some guys the Phillies will have their eye on come trade deadline. Andrew Benintendi, an American League All-Star, a big name that has been linked to a lot of teams, but certainly the Philadelphia Phillies are interested because of their need for an All-Star. But just exciting stuff. Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout, Francisco Lindor, Mets fan, we hate him. Guys like that, though, that you can absolutely be zoned in. Aaron Judge is having an amazing year. Yordan Alvarez. Kyle Schwarber will be participating in the game. Like so many big names around baseball will be out there and playing in the All-Star game in Los Angeles. And you know LA does it right when it comes to putting on a show. So there's your schedule for MLB All-Star Week so you can catch up on all the festivities. I'm excited about it. We're going to have one more episode tomorrow to go ahead and lead us in more to the Marlins and Phillies series. And then I'm going to have a draft preview on Saturday that I'll put out prior to the draft starting, to take a look at some of the prospects and players that the Phillies could be looking to select. It's going to be a fun week. We'll have a lot of fun off-the-wall type shows with no more games after this 3-game series. So plenty of stuff to get into. But that's all for today. I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects. I told you about Lindsey Crosby and all he's doing for the draft. Well, Locked On MLB Prospects is not just draft related. They talk about guys already in the minor league system, as well as guys that are draft available, potential trades, things like that. If you need to know anything about high A, low A, double A, triple A, rookie ball, college ball, high school ball, they know everything. Anything short of the major leagues, it's in Lindsey Crosby's domain. So check out Locked On MLB Prospects. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. That's all I've got for you for today's episode, and I will talk to all of you again tomorrow.